everyone, I am back again with another video. I'm trying to put out content a little bit more regularly these days, particularly with baby number 2 on the way. So if you are new here, I am a lactation consultant, I'm a hypnobirthing instructor, I'm a registered general nurse, and I work as a birth and postpartum doula here in Ireland. I also have e-courses online, so I'm going to link my website down below. If you're interested in any of that kind of content, please do make sure and hit that subscribe bell and notification bell and all of the bells and buttons to make sure you don't miss any more of my videos. I hope they're going to be a little bit more regular from now on, and I'm really trying to stick to a little bit more of a schedule. So in this video, I'm going to talk about pregnancy-related nausea and how to combat that. It's funny, you know, because I had a video recorded previously before I'd gotten pregnant this time around, and I had all sorts of tips and tricks in it, but actually being able to live them and apply them and see what really works has just made it a completely different video. So I hope that you can find something interesting in this video. I hope that at least one of the tips helps you out. For those of you who are experiencing this, pregnancy-related nausea, the reason I'm not calling it morning sickness, can be in very varying sort of amounts, and it can be right from just feeling a little bit sicky for a few weeks up to feeling miserable for your whole pregnancy. So it's no joke, and that's certainly been in the camp that I've been at so far. I'm now coming into my second trimester and starting to feel a little bit more comfortable and a little bit less sick, but I don't forget that time whatsoever. So I'm going to dive straight into what the different things that I did that really worked, that really helped, and some of the more evidence-based research around relieving this awful symptom that comes with the first trimester. So the first thing that I used and did myself was when I was feeling particularly awful, that I couldn't actually keep down fluids, so water was a little bit of a trigger for me. I wasn't able to drink water for a very long time, but I was able to keep down ice pops and sort of frozen ice cubes I could munch on. And what I did was freeze either juice, orange juice I was really craving, but also something like this. This one in particular, how does one do this so it doesn't end up all shiny? It's essentially a diaurolite solution, but this one has a probiotic in it as well, so you get all the benefits of that when, of course, if you've got a really upset tummy, your microbiome is sort of thrown off balance. So this is a really nice way to sort of resettle things. I would just mix it up and then make little ice cubes with it, and either add it to water or dilute or juice, or just suck and munch on the cubes themselves. So it's a great way to make sure that you are sort of balancing out those electrolytes, as well as maintaining that degree of hydration without the requirement to go into hospital and go on a drip, which of course, if you are struggling with hyperemesis, that is where you are really struggling to maintain anything, to keep anything down, absolutely run this by your care provider first, and they might consider bringing you in for an IV drip, but also for medication that can really help this problem. So these tips, while they might help those of you who are struggling with maybe a minor version of hyperemesis gravidarum, if you are particularly unwell, you might well require medication on top of that. So speaking about medication, my next tip I actually have here, and this for me was, I think, the big difference between me starting to feel a lot better. I started taking it around week 7, and that is just a vitamin B6 complex. So the research says somewhere between 10 milligrams right up to 25 milligrams TDS. So that means 3 times daily. I've been taking the 10 milligram version and taking it 3 times a day, and it's really worked. That being said, these in particular are quite hefty sizes, these capsules. So if you're feeling a little bit nauseous, it's often not the easiest thing to be taking. So trying to see what works with your body, you might find that you can take them with a little bit of food, with a cracker maybe, or with a smoothie or a juice. But absolutely, these helped me, and they're actually vitamin B6 in high dose is one of the primary ingredients alongside the other ingredient in caraban, which is the mainstay medication here that we use in Ireland for those women who are experiencing hyperemesis. So a really high dose B6 does have a significant amount of research behind it. However, I would say to run this by your care provider first, particularly if you're already on any kind of medication. A high dose of B6 can cause a sort of temporary neuromuscular paralysis. So it is something that sort of tingling fingers and toes, that kind of thing. So it is something that you will want to run by your care provider first. So the next one, again, would be worthwhile running by your healthcare provider. But for me personally, this has worked a dream. And I've actually taken to diffusing this throughout my house the whole day, as well as leaving the bottles neat beside my bed. So I can only find one of them. This is peppermint. I'm using the Atlantic Aromatics blend. So that's like a nice kind of Irish company to be thinking of if you want to support local at the moment. And both peppermint and lemon essential oil have a fair bit of research behind them to reduce that feeling of nausea and sort of sicky tummy. So what I will do personally is I'll sniff it directly from the bottle. So just open up the little lid and have a little sniff. I'll leave it right beside my my bedstand at night time. So generally my morning sickness is particularly bad as soon as I wake up. So this has really settled things down quite nicely, and then just taking a moment before I get up out of bed then and chase my toddler around the place. So lemon and peppermint essential oils have been really, really nice. I will link down below some of the research that backs up the use of these essential oils in pregnancy, and of course you're always not ingesting them, so you're not taking them orally, you are only using them for inhalation purposes. So my next tip then is actually the use of acupressure. So I have my neat little gizmo here. This is the box that they come in. This is the C-band Mama Nausea Relief, a drug-free answer to morning sickness, comforting acupressure bands. And these in particular come in a sweet little container, but you don't need them. You can just find that point yourself. So if you were to find that acupressure point to relieve nausea, you're talking about sort of just where that palmar crease is, or not palmar crease, your wrist crease is. You're talking about going about 3 finger breadths down from where that crease begins, in between where your 2 tendons are. So you can see, I can actually see it quite well on camera. You can see those 2 tendons down in the middle of my hand. Just in between those 3 finger breadths down, in between the 2 tendons, that's your little acupressure point there. So if you don't want to invest in these acupressure bands because you might feel that you're only going to be using it for a very short period of time, just mark that little area with a Sharpie, or you might find getting a little popcorn kernel and a little bit of medical grade tape, taping it over that point to make your own homemade acupressure band. I always encourage this little tip for mamas during labour when we're working on those different acupressure points for comfort and for pain relief. But for nausea relief, these are really, really good. They come in this sweet little container. They're actually quite tight already, so you can see they're quite small, and if you just turn it inside out, you see it's got like a little bead there. So where you would use a popcorn kernel, and what you do is you place it on your wrist. This actually, it comes with 2 on that pressure point that we were talking about earlier on, so just over it there. And what you can do is just apply it as needed. So if you're getting that sort of wave of nausea, you can just apply light pressure. It doesn't want to be, you don't want it to be painful, but light pressure on that area. And I actually found that I used these all day, every day, couldn't remove them, and they ended up being sort of how I announced to people a little bit earlier than maybe I would have liked, so sort of in work and that kind of thing. So make sure you're wearing a long sleeve t-shirt if that is something that you're kind of being mindful of. Before I go any further, I must say that I have all of these things linked on my Amazon storefront, which is on my website, so it's literally down as storefront. So I have my website linked down below, and if you're interested in looking at any of these different things for sort of a pack of how to relieve nausea, I have a sort of prenatal must-haves, I think is what I call it, and you can go over there and literally click through that as Amazon affiliate link to add all of these to your basket if you wish. So my next tip then is probably something that you've already heard, and that is to eat little and often. And this is something that I found I was sort of doing intuitively. I didn't really have to do much of, particularly in those early first few weeks. I was sort of eating primarily salty crackers, mashed potato and orange juice, funnily enough. but eating smaller meals throughout the day as opposed to sort of large meals and then going big blocks. The reason this seems to work is that empty stomach, the hormones that are released back into our body trigger those feelings of nausea. So if we can have essentially, if you can, never have a fully empty stomach, you're going to find that works a lot nicer for you. And my last tip then, again, is something that you might have heard before, but it's the use of ginger. The reason ginger has a fair bit of evidence behind it is its use in Chinese medicine. So Chinese medicine refers to sort of the yin and yang of your body, and particularly during a phase of pregnancy, Chinese medicine recommends lots of warming and nourishing foods. So in that sort of warming, nourishing category comes ginger. So I tried out two particular sort of ways of taking ginger this pregnancy. I took ginger capsules, but I actually found that it, again, being on top of sort of my folate and my iodine and my omegas that I was already taking, that it was just a little bit much for me. So I started taking these. I tried out two different brands. This was the same as the C-band version, and these ones actually have ginger oil in them as well, but I found that they didn't make that much of a difference, and I found that they didn't support my tummy at all. So if you're going to go for something you wanted to have a bit of a gingery kick, these are your go-tos. I actually bought a multi-pack because this is how good they worked for me. So these ones you can actually make it in a drink as well, so you could add it to hot water, and that can be quite a nice way of doing it, or adding it to sort of an already ginger tea, or adding fresh grated ginger with some lemon to it. But this one in particular I found particularly good. They are particularly spicy. They have a rather high dose of ginger in them, so they worked really well. And just kind of a hard boiled candy in general works quite nicely to sort of have that slow release of sugar as well. So these have been a go-to, and they're actually always a go-to in my sort of mummy emergency bag. So they're a really nice one to sort of have on the go. And the last thing is just doing what works for you, listening to your body. Try not to put yourself under pressure when you are eating Pringles for breakfast. You can make up for it later on in your pregnancy, and our bodies are so clever at really doing its best to give all of the nutrients that are necessary to your baby. Hopefully this is only going to be just a phase, so by the time that you get out the other side of it, you can have all of the greens, all of the fruits, all of the vegetables. Please don't feel like you're not doing everything that you can, because it's not easy. Growing a human from scratch is possibly one of the most amazing things that you will ever do, and I don't want you to feel like you're letting a side down. You're already doing your best, mama. And I hope you found this video helpful. If even one of these tips helps, or you have something else that I haven't discussed that you maybe want to share with the rest of the people down below, please do add it to the comment section and have a little chat there, and let me know what you think. Let me know what's worked for you, let me know what's worked for your friends, and I'll see you down in the comment section.